Hello and good morning. So I will start off by saying if you are watching this on the recording, feel free to skip ahead to get to the content while I get my technical difficulties worked out this morning. I'm going to get this shared out. And today we're going to be talking about innocent spouse relief as it pertains to tax debt resolution. So make sure you share this out and grab a pen and a paper, and hopefully you'll get some value out of this. Okay, let's see. We get this shared out. Make sure it's working. All right, there we go. There I am. There we go. Here we go. All right, awesome. Share this in one more place and then we're going to get going. Okay, so I got this shared out and so we're ready to go. So first, I want to welcome you to the show. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, and I am here Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. I say ish because I'm a mom and sometimes ish happens, okay? But I'm usually here at 9 o'clock. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about a wider range of topics, mainly focused on tax topics as I am a tax professional, but we talk about taxes, we talk about business, we talk about leadership, wealth, all those things that help us do this whole thing called life a lot better, and definitely better when we do it together, okay? So first of all, I want to say too, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. I certainly will appreciate it, especially if you get some value. You're welcome to leave a comment. I do respond to my comments personally. Definitely not any automatic stuff going on, but I do respond to those. And if you have any questions, you are certainly welcome to reach out to me. Okay, so today's topic is innocent spouse relief as it pertains to tax debt resolution. Okay, so here's the deal. Married couples file jointly in order to get certain tax benefits. If you file separately, you will not get access to certain tax credits. And so filing jointly certainly does make more sense for a married couple. But what happens when it goes wrong? What happens when some stuff starts to go wrong with filing taxes? Because you know what? Sometimes stuff happens. Okay, let's be real. Sometimes stuff happens, and then it also has a tax impact on us. And so what I want to share with you today about is about innocent spouse relief. And this is what happens really when you are in the process of a separation and a divorce, and there are some things that happens with the taxes that you might not have known about, but you are liable for. So let's talk about the married filing jointly part. So when you file married filing joint, that means that you are both accepting responsibility for the information on the return and whatever the outcome is. If you have a tax liability, even if only one spouse is working, you are, by filing a joint return, you are saying that you are both jointly and severably. That means each of you are responsible for the tax liability, okay? So, but when stuff happens in the breakup of a marriage, then that's when it can start to get a little funky. And so that's why I want to talk about this in particular. Okay, so there are three types of relief. There's the innocent spouse relief, separation of liability relief, and equitable relief. Okay, so let me put that on here. All right, so let me get the things here. All right, so first, let's talk about innocent spouse relief. Okay, so innocent spouse relief, it provides you relief of additional tax you owe if your spouse or former spouse failed to report income, reported income improperly, or claimed improper deductions and credits, okay? That's what innocent spouse relief is. Then for innocent spouse relief, you have to meet the following conditions, okay? One, you filed a joint return that has an understatement of tax that's solely attributable to your spouse's erroneous item, okay? So that means that your spouse did not report all their income, they took some deductions or credits or property basis. There was something done erroneously that you had nothing to do with. So that's number one. Number two, you must establish at the time that you signed the return that you didn't know or have a reason to know that there was an understatement of tax. And number three is taking into account all of those facts and circumstances. It would be unfair to hold you liable for the understatement of tax. So nuts and bolts is for innocent spouse relief, your spouse would have essentially had to hide something from you that you would have no way of knowing about. That is what innocent spouse relief is, okay? Then number two is separation of liability. I can't type today. Let me try that again. Separation of liability relief. Okay, this is the second type. All right. Now, this provides for a separate allocation of additional tax owed between you and your former spouse or your current spouse who you are legally separated from or not living with when an item wasn't reported on a joint return. You're then only responsible for the part that's allocated to you. Now, for the separation of equitable relief, you have to meet the following requirements. One, you must be divorced or legally separated from the spouse with whom you filed the joint return. Number two, you're widowed. And number three, you haven't been a member of the same household as a spouse with whom you filed a joint return for the 12-month period requesting relief. So, but even with those things in place, even if you meet those qualifications, if you knew what your spouse was doing was incorrect and you still signed the return, then you don't qualify for separation of liability, okay? So if you knew, then you can't say, okay, well, I knew about it, but I don't want to pay for it. No, when you file a joint return, you are jointly and severably liable unless you did not know. So if you knew, then you can't qualify for the separation of liability relief. Okay. So then there's number three, equitable relief. How many of you knew this stuff? How many of you knew that you could do this? Okay. So if you don't qualify for innocent spouse relief or separation of liability relief, you might still qualify for equitable relief. Okay. So to qualify for equitable relief, I'm talking too fast, you must establish that under all facts and circumstances, it would be unfair to hold you liable for the understatement of tax or underpayment of tax. Now, how does that happen? In cases of abuse, for instance, if you have a case of an abusive relationship where you really have no say in something, then the IRS, has ways to take that into account. So there's different types of relief that you can apply for based on your circumstances. But here's the thing, that you only have a certain amount of time in order to claim this stuff. Okay, so you have to file your claim. I want to say within 2 years. Hold on, let me check my notes. Let me make sure. Hold on, I got a lot of notes here, so I want to make sure I tell you the right thing. Okay, I'll have to put that in the comments to make sure. Okay, but anywho, there's a specific amount of time, and I'll definitely double check that in which you have to apply for these things. Now, the last thing I want to go over really quickly is injured spouse. I cannot type today. Spouse versus innocent spouse. They're two different things. Okay, so the injured spouse happens when there is a refund. You know, you have a married couple filing jointly and there is a refund in question. So what the injured spouse application does is that it allows you to claim your part of the refund for you, and have your spouse's refund if that refund has to go to some other debt, whether it's tax debt, child support, student loans, that kind of thing. So it allows the non-offending spouse to get their money back, and just the refund of the person that owes for that to be affected. So that's the injured spouse. Now, here's the thing about the injured spouse. You have to file that. You can file it electronically, but it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to process. Okay, so just tidbit of information. All right, now first is the innocent spouse release. This is a tax liability that we're dealing with. So injured spouse is generally refund. Innocent spouse is liability. So with the innocent spouse, you're talking about how you're going to sever yourself from a specific liability. Injured spouse is give me my part of my refund. Okay. So, so the thing about the, with the innocent spouse, here's the deal. Okay. Again, sometimes you have stuff that happens, but if your spouse has a tax return that you don't feel is quite right, you don't sign it, because when you sign stuff, you're saying when you sign your tax return, you're saying that you agree that everything on here is correct. Okay. And so let me give you a scenario that happened that was just totally crazy. Okay. So there was a client whose spouse had not filed his business returns. Okay. She filed her personal return, but he had not filed his business return, therefore had not filed their, his personal return. It was a mess. But what it came down to is that when it was time for them to be able to buy a home, they couldn't buy a home because his income had not been reported, and they couldn't buy a house. Okay. So it was, it turned out to be an ugly mess, but she was not responsible because, one, they had not filed jointly, they had filed separately, but two, she didn't know about all this other stuff. So you've got to, really be able to prove that you did not know that there was something wrong, there was something erroneous about the return. If your spouse, your spouse could be hiding a house in the Caymans or something, okay, that you don't know about. All right. If you're not really involved in the finances of your house, you might not know. Okay. But you have to be able to prove that you did not know in order for you to qualify for the innocent spouse relief. Okay. So listen, nuts and bolts is this. When you're dealing with tax debt, you do not have to do this alone. You can hire someone to help you deal with the IRS and get your problem resolved. And if you have tax debt that you cannot pay, I encourage you to book a tax consult with me. Hold on. Okay, so if you've got a tax situation that you're dealing with, if you have tax debt that you cannot pay, even if you're dealing with innocent spouse relief, I highly encourage you to book a consultation with me to see how I can help you, because you don't have to do this by yourself, and especially if you're dealing with tax debt, you don't want your phones ringing anymore. So that's why you deal with someone like me to help represent you. So they call me, they don't call you. I'm the one who talks to you, okay? So listen, thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Let me check some of the places where I have shared this out and see if there's any questions or comments. Let's see. Okay, doesn't look like I have any questions. Okay, so nuts and bolts is, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help you out. All right, have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time. Bye.